Welcome to RGES Algebra 2. This is Lesson 28B, Part 2. We're discussing now the new concept, which is 8.9, rationalization. Now, I know we know the term rationalization in other contexts, but this is in a mathematical context. Okay, so the first ideas we've already talked about, actually. I'm struggling a little on why this is a new concept. We know that we cannot have, to be simplified, we do not want a radical in the denominator. So because this is a square root, I want one more 3 down there. So if I multiply it by the same index, the square root, and another 3, then I'll have 2 3's in the denominator, and so I can pull one out from under the radical sign. Okay, so I'm going to show how that works. Now I can only multiply it if I multiply both the denominator and the numerator by the square root of 3. Because anything over itself will be 1, so I'm not changing the value. So if you look at this now, what that looks like is 2 to the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 over the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. Well, because these have the same index, that's the same as the square root of 3 times 3, or it is the same, or simply 3. Right? So this equals 3. And I think you know all that. So the final thing now, let's look at it again. The original problem was 2 over the square root of 3. I'm going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 3, and now I'm going to get 2 to the square root of 3 over 3. And I think we've been doing really quite a bit of that. Now, this is my next example, and notice because it's the cubed root, so I tend not to write all that out, okay? I tend to simply do this. Write the note I need. I need one more x, and I need one more y. And if I have that, I will be able to take one x out, because I'll have 3 x's under the radical, one y out, and then this, of course, is under a cubed root sign. So now I'm multiplying that to the numerator, and I get 2x squared, the cubed root of xy. All over, and then I want to cancel out one of these x's, so that'll go away, and this will go away. Okay. So this becomes 2x, the cubed root of xy, all over y. That's a y. Okay, one more in the denominator, because you do not want a radical in the denominator. That's the whole idea. So we rationalize the denominator, meaning we're going to manipulate it to get the radical out of the denominator. And here we are, we've got a cubed root, so I need 3 of each. I've got 2 a's, I need one more a, one more b. It's, of course, going to be the cubed root. So now in the denominator, I'll pull 1a out and 1b out. In the numerator, I have to multiply this. If I multiply it in the denominator, I multiply it in the numerator also. So again, in the first example, I illustrated all the steps. Right now, what I'm doing is just showing you how quickly to get the answer. Now, I think that's really, I think we've been doing this. So the part B is the part you really need to kind of pay attention to, and it's not that difficult. It's called rationalizing the denominator. Now, when we have a 2-term expression. So if I have the square root of 7 minus the square root of 3 over the square root of 7 plus the square root of 3. So I need to get rid of this pair. And if I multiply it by let's think about this now. If I multiply this by the square root of 7 minus the square root of 3, what will happen? If I FOIL, I'll get 7 plus a term and minus the same term, so the middle terms drop out. We call these conjugates of one another. Anytime you have two terms where the only difference is the plus or minus sign, but everything else is the same, these are called conjugates. So the first term is going to be square root of 7 times square root of 7, or 7. And the middle terms drop out. We're doing FOIL. And the last term would be the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 with a minus sign, right? Because it's a positive and a negative. So positive square root of 3 times negative square root of 3. So that would be minus 3. So this will equal, the denominator will equal 4. What will the numerator equal? Well, it's going to be this times this, right? Again, now we're not going to have the middle terms drop out, okay, but the first term will be 7. It'll be, the outer terms will be negative square root of 3 times square root of 7, or negative square root of 21. Inner terms will be minus the square root of 21, so that will be minus 2 times the square root of 21. And the last terms would be negative times the negative, positive. Square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3. Okay? Combining this and this, my last thing is going to be 10 minus 2, the square root of 21, all over 4. Simplify it by dividing by 2, and you get 5 minus, we'll have to divide both terms, right? Both this and this. 5 minus the square root of 21 all over 2. That's a 2, that's a 21. All right, now let me just show that to you one more time and see if you can't start seeing this in your head. Watch. Let's say square root of 3 plus the square root of 7 over the square root of 3 minus the square root of 7. Okay. In the denominator, I'm going to multiply by the conjugate. So, of course, I'll have to do it up here also. Right? I could rewrite it here, but I just don't want to. Okay? So my new denominator will be, watch, 3 minus 7. Middle terms drop out. That's all you have to do. If all you're seeing is the conjugate, just pick up the number outside the radical here and pick up the number outside the radical here. And it's a minus sign between them. Okay? Now, for the other one, it's going to be 3 plus 2 times square root of 7 plus 7. So this will be 10 plus 2 square root of 7 over negative 4. Simplify one more time. 5 plus square root of 7 over negative 2. Or we could pull the negative out front, either way. I'm going to show you a couple more examples. Okay, so the second example, I showed you something with variables. The next example, notice they don't have to be the same, or conjugates are related to one another on the numerator and denominator. So this one, all we're picking up is the conjugate of the denominator. So 5 plus 3 square root of 2, okay? And of course we'll pull that to the numerator also. So the denominator will look like, we have to FOIL, 25, middle terms will drop out, 9 times 2 is 18. See how that works? Okay. And then now for the numerator, let me just make sure I did that right. 25 times 3 times 3 is 9, times 2 is 18. All right, now for the numerator, I'm going to have first terms are going to be 10. Outer terms are going to be plus 3 times 2 plus 6 square root of 2. Inner terms are going to be minus 5 square root of 2. Last terms are going to be minus 3 times 2, or 6. You see that? Okay. So study that for a second if you need to. The 10 and the 6 minus 6 will combine, and that'll give me 4 plus 6, the square root of 2, all over 25 minus 18 would be 7. Nothing else, let's see, 6 minus 5, I'm sorry. 6 minus 5 is plus the square root of 2. There we go. All right, so that's over 7, and that's how you do it. Okay, I think I'd like to show you, maybe not. Go ahead. I think they all have the same concept. So go ahead and let's give you your homework assignment on the next page. So this will be 8.9a. This should actually be pretty quick assignment, I think. 1 through 8 all. And 8.9b, 1 through 16 all. And of course, what the whole idea here is using that conjugate if we have two terms in the denominator. Okay, plus or a minus, right? All right, make sure you really work those word problems if you haven't been working them up till now. Make sure you can get at least your 2 equations. Work hard on that. I'm expecting you to graduate to be better word problem solvers. Okay, so anything else to tell you? Keep plugging along. Please do text me if you're having any trouble at all. We can't afford to lose this time. So I'm assuming you are mastering these sections. If not, you better send me a text this week and let me know what I need to do to improve, because we're going to be coming in on another test pretty soon. And of course, you need to pass these tests to pass the course. Okay, have a great day, and God bless you all.